It's constantly shifting your perception over and over again. You have epiphany after epiphany after epiphany after epiphany. You realize the true nature of who you are. You realize the true nature of what you are, where you position yourself in your society, in your nation, on your planet, in the universe, essentially. You get a cosmological perspective of who and what you actually are, beyond the thoughts you have, beyond the emotions you feel, beyond the physical body you inhabit, even beyond everything else. You become this presence awareness of being aware that you're aware, essentially. And that is where you truly feel deeply connected to everything. You feel deeply connected to the animals, the people, the elements, the earth, the sky, the moon, the earth. There is nothing that isn't you, and you are everything. And that perspective is, it's a nice perspective to have in these times, because you become less troubled with what's happening in your circumstances. You become less worried and concerned about the coronavirus, about the banks shutting, about the governments, about all of these things that would have normally caused someone to feel anxiety or depression. Because of the shift of perception that you could have, you're kind of sitting in an overview perspective, instead of getting yourself stuck in the news and the rumors and the worry and the concerns and the depression and the anxiety, which is on the surface of your human experience. But when you have a deeper perspective and you really feel a deeper connection to what it is that we are, although I still feel anxiety sometimes and I still feel depression, I know that they're not who I am, and I can just observe them for what they are, on a human level, which is really beautiful.
Yeah, it's lovely. So maybe we could delve into a little bit about if people are suffering with anxiety and depression and things like that because of this dark time. You know, people can't work, people can't earn money right now, and it's going to bring a lot of worries. And the fact that the whole world is now on a lockdown and they're all worried about the same thing, the vibration of this for the planet is obviously not good because it's a low vibration. So what we need to do, we need to switch that vibration. We need to help people rise up and raise our consciousness and become enlightened, you know, and this is a perfect time to do that. So maybe you could give us a little bit of tips and something that you've been through, and talk about your own experiences of how you got through the anxiety. You're saying you're observing it, but what does that mean for people, and how can people overcome this challenge that we're going through right now?
Yeah. I mean, the first step into enlightenment or to liberation is to, when you feel anxious or worrying or depressed or any of these things that you can feel as given the current climate on the earth, this is a perfect opportunity to go deeper into that pain. So, for instance, if you feel depressed or anxious about what's happening at the moment, sit quietly and put your awareness, instead of the outside world, which is people and circumstances and the news and your mum and your shopping and your bills, which is outside of you, just turn your awareness 180 degrees towards the anxiety. Look at your depression as if you are observing it, without labeling it or judging it or saying you should have it or you shouldn't have it, or I don't want it or I want it, or pull it towards you or push it away from you. Just observation of anxiety is enough in order for anxiety to show its truth. And you'll find that when you put your awareness on anxiety or worry, you'll see that it's actually quite illusionary in nature, that it's been allowed to be in your body because you are unaware of it. But as soon as you become aware of it and you become conscious or observe the anxiety, it almost feels like it's been rumbled and it leaves. And so the more you practice conscious observation of how you feel, if you feel sad, become conscious and observe your sadness. Don't just feel sad and sit and go, I'm sad. Turn your awareness on the sadness and ask yourself, what is the source of my sadness? And you'll find that inside all of us, even myself, and everyone on this earth, we've been living in old programs, old patterns, old beliefs, and they're stuck. They're stuck between the mind and the body. And this relationship has been quite toxic for humanity for a long, long time. And just by becoming consciously aware that you are depressed, they always say the first way of getting out of depression is to know that you're depressed. And this is exactly right. To get rid of anxiety, just know that you're anxious. Just sit with your anxiety. Don't label it. Don't name it. Don't judge it. Don't push it away. Don't condemn it. Don't label it in any way. Just be with it. And meditation will help you do this. So I recommend that as a first step into dealing with this shift that's happening at the moment.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a very strange time. We've just come back from Colombia and heading home, and everything's so different here to what it was out there. And it's just, my mum warned me, she said, like, it's a bit different here. Like, it's so weird. But the thing is, people are still heading out, they're doing their things, and it's like there's this big problem that's going on, but we're still seeing, like, I've had builders in my road all week, literally builders in my road all week, and it's like, what are you doing?
They're putting up 5G towers all over the country.
Exactly what I'm thinking. So maybe we'll touch on that in a minute, because I think that's definitely a big subject that's a lot of people are talking about. A lot of people are throwing so much conspiracy stuff around. Maybe we'll touch on that in a bit, and we can actually touch on it now. What's your view on the 5G, and how's that going to affect people's consciousness and vibration and everything like that? Maybe we'll touch on that now, and then we'll come back into the other stuff in a sec.
Okay. So if you think on terms of energy, frequency, and vibration, when you think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration, that's all we are as people. We're just energy, frequency, and vibration. Any frequency that is emitted through the air, like Wi-Fi or anything, is affecting us. Microwaves, infrared, all of these things are having a physiological and psychological effect on our state of being. Just because they're invisible does not mean they're not affecting us. And this 5G, if you do and look into, anyone that's interested or haven't heard of anything, just Google 5G and what it does to the human body. It's not great. 3G wasn't great. 4G was even worse. And now 5G is really bad. So I would suggest to anyone who has an open mind to go and do some research into the 5G network, because it's not healthy for human beings. And they are, at the moment, especially with the coronavirus kicking off around the world, they are putting 5G masts around the entire world. China and all over the place. There's one in Bournemouth, there's a whole bunch in London, there's loads all over America. And I don't think it's a coincidence that we're all getting really sick of a virus while they're emitting these frequencies around the world. Now, I am not a conspiracy theorist. I do not theorize anything. I check multiple sources of maybe 10 to 20 different sources before speaking. And I just think it's inhumane to emit a frequency among the human race that is affecting the health of millions of people. Without my consent, without anyone's consent. I think that's bullshit.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with you. A few people have been putting up posts that there's going to be like a 10-day blackout. Well, what happens if in the 10-day blackout and we come back on and everything's switched on to 5G, and then all of a sudden we're being absolutely nuked by by this creation? And it's you haven't had a choice in that.
It's almost like in Albert Pike's book in 1912, there was a Grand Master Lodge of the Freemasons called Albert Pike. He wrote a book, and in that book he wrote a 100-year plan in 1912. And all the way through the 70s, 80s, and 90s, the plan was to set up a depopulation program to limit the population of the Earth by a radical amount. And check out Albert Pike's book. You can just Google it. It's on Amazon. You can order it and read it yourself. And this guy was a lodge master in the Freemasons. And those people don't fuck around. Those people, they set an agenda and they stick to their plan all the way through. The people who are running this world, the people who are running the governments, the people who are running the banking and the energy companies, they think 50 years to 100 years in advance. They're not thinking about next year's projections or the 5-year projections. These guys are thinking, what do we want the world to look like in 50 years?
Yeah.
And they work backwards from that 50-year plan, and then they start putting things in place. So what we're currently living in is something that's been imagined by hundreds of people for hundreds of years.
Yeah, okay, interesting. We've got a good couple of questions coming from Tijan. How can we raise awareness around 5G without adding the fear everyone already feels, and trying to raise awareness but keeping the vibe high is difficult balance? Any suggestions?
Do more material stuff like this, because, like, again, the more research you do, the more knowledge you have on any subject, the more confidence you have. And it also depends on your delivery. If you're worried and in a state of fear when you deliver information, people will receive it in that vibration. But if you're like, hey, the world is amazing and we're so happy, and check out the 5G towers and don't trust the politicians and life is amazing and keep yourself healthy, it's all about your delivery, is how your impact is. So if you want to spread awareness about certain subjects, first of all, make sure you're knowledgeable about that subject. And second of all, make sure you're delivering the information that doesn't sound like you're depressed or angry. Just keep it loving and light. And it sounds really cheesy and to be all like hippie and sometimes it's very hard to do that given that everyone around you is suffering. But just keep doing the inner work, keep doing the research, keep studying yourself, keep studying the external world, and just be the calling, be the person. If you feel the need to share information, just find it within yourself to just put it out into the world, because the more content we create, the more people can hear it, and the more people that hear it, the more people that can wake up. And it's like an accelerative curve, like an avalanche. So yeah, just there isn't a quick fire way of delivering the information other than make sure you know what you're talking about, because people who have cognitive dissonance will question you, and if you don't have an answer for their questions, they'll just deny you. If you say about 5G towers and they answer questions and you don't have any answers for them, they'll just deny what you're saying is false. So the more information, the more conviction you have in what you're saying, and the more you believe it and the more passionate you are about it, then the more impact you'll have on other people.
Yeah, it's very good. Thank you, Chris. Hope that helped you, Jim. Great answer, and definitely something that we need to be aware of is how we speak. Our words is a portal, so everything we talk about, whether we realise it or not, it's a portal. So if we start speaking positively and we have that conviction and the confidence when we're talking, things are going to come across, and that also helps us raise our vibration, raise our consciousness. So it's very good. I love the questions, love the answer as well. So let's talk a little bit more about mindfulness, wellness. What's going on in the world right now? A lot of people are really. I'm speaking to loads of people, and they're like, I'm just having this calling. I need to do holistic work. I need to meditate and all this stuff. So how can we help people do this? Is there, obviously you're a life coach, you do biohacking, you do everything out there that you've got your fingers in some way, and your knowledge is just impeccable. So I'd love to delve into your thought process on like food and like just daily routines of how we can really help people just start step by step. So a few people have messaged me, I really feel like I'm having this awakening, I don't know what's going on, I'm having these vibrations, I'm having all these thought patterns and lucid dreamings and stuff like that. So maybe we can touch on that a little bit, if that's all right, Chris, and we can just help people with that step-by-step process of how we can get them enlightened and how we can, my friends come on, yeah, that's me, yeah, that's you. So I've got a few more people like that as well. So, It's good. I've got loads of people like that. I'm speaking to so many people who are just coming into this awakening and they just don't know how to handle it. So maybe we can give people a little bit of information on that and what their thought process should be, daily practices and stuff like that. That's right, Chris.
Cool. So obviously it sounds really obvious, but meditation.
Yeah.
What is meditation? Meditation is when you stop doing everything. Literally everything. You do not move your body, and eventually what happens is it's really easy to put your body in a still place. If you sit comfortably, it's so simple to get your body still, but the difficult part is the mind. The mind is like a train. It's like a train that's been traveling at like 600 miles an hour for 30 years. And to try and stop that is going to be impossible. So it's like anything, every day, but don't meditate for a particular reason. Don't meditate for a reason. Don't meditate to get something out of it. Don't meditate for any other reason than you're just sitting in meditation. If there is an agenda attached to your meditation, it won't work because your mind will just be thinking about the outcome of what you're trying to achieve. Meditation is when you just sit centered within yourself, and eventually, and I mean eventually, your mind will stop. Your mind will just literally stop thinking. And what you're left with is just perception. You're left with just perceiving life instead of thinking about it, labeling it, analyzing, comparing yourself to it, and all of the amazing things your mind's been doing your whole life. The mind lives in the future and it lives in the past, but it hates living in the present moment because in the present moment it's not needed. Like right now, I'm not thinking about speaking. It's just coming out of you, it just flows. So what you'll find, this is a really good tip for anyone who wants to become more mindful of their emotions and their thoughts. And that is, if you're depressed, your mind is living in the past. And if you have anxiety, your mind is living in the future. And this is paramount in understanding what it is the mind is. It's like a survival mechanism. And if you can just bring your attention to the present moment and have a look around and see that you're safe, that you have food, that you have shelter, and that everything is perfect, you technically don't need your mind. You don't need your mind to be thinking and labeling and analyzing and comparing and judging if you're just sitting in your home. If you are just sitting in your home, there is just sitting in your home. There can just be an awareness that you are sitting in your home. There doesn't need to be any kind of mental activity. Your mind is a tool that you can use when you need it. And then when you don't need it, you can just put it to the side and just be in a state of perception, a state of awareness. And I would recommend for anyone who's feeling something spiritual at the moment, or they're slightly confused, awakening is a very confusing time because your old sense of identity, which is in your mind, is starting to dissolve as your true identity, your soul, your Atman, your higher self is emerging out of you. So you have this kind of like dichotomy where one is reducing and one is growing at the same time. And this, from an unconscious perspective, you look like you're going insane. So do not worry and do not panic because it's a totally normal thing for all humans to go to and experience. Knowing people like Joby and myself, or finding a community of people who are spiritual and doing spiritual practices and talking openly about their experiences will make you feel like you're a sense of community, which will help you during this time. But definitely stay positive because it is a beautiful, beautiful experience. Having an awakening is a wonderful, bitter, sweet experience because it's bitter because your old sense of identity is dissolving, which is quite painful. But it's sweet because you're emerging into a much more beautiful, loving, connected space. And so yeah, listening to podcasts like this, doing research, and meditation is the way.
Yeah, absolutely. So I know for myself, I've been through many awakenings, and every time I've been through one, I've had a trauma or I've had something come up that's really just, but then I've had to go through the dark to get into the light. So no matter what you might be going through right now, stay strong, stay positive. Just as Chris is saying, do the work every day, meditate, read, watch. I found watching when I was going through a dark time, watching comedies that lifted my mood and my vibration up, and dancing and having a bit of music on. I listen to your favorite tunes and just anything you can to lift your vibration up. And the more you meditate, the more you can keep connected. If you've got a drum, I love drumming. Drum journeys for me are it's and we just thinking there as well, which we're going to really touch on in a minute, because she just put buffo, ayahuasca, and mushrooms. Yeah, rock on.
So yeah, we can. Joby, do you want to talk about plant medicines while they come in?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's a good subject, because right now it's the plant medicine is being called to people, and people are really delving in. People are really finding it. Like I said, we just got to come back from Colombia. We had an amazing trip over there on retreat, learning all about the plant medicines, working with shamans, and absolutely purely divine. Literally opens up the gateway and the doorway for you to really take your spiritual level to the next level. And this is, you're talking like 50, 60 years worth of work, and you can do it in 5 years. This is incredible. So Chris, talk to me a little bit about your experience with the plant medicine. What did you get from it, and how has it affected you?
So yeah, I always had a social stigma in my head my whole life that drugs were bad. So yeah, I always had a social stigma in my head my whole life. So I always had this thing. I was always told that drugs were illegal, drugs were bad, drugs were this, drugs were that, drugs do this to you. I can tell you 100%, if you have a healthy relationship with anything you put into your body, nothing is bad for you. And the more I started awakening, I started taking different substances. And the more I took, I'll say I smoked a little bit of weed, but it was really when I started taking LSD, when all of my sense perception started shifting. I think I've frozen on Instagram a little bit. Are you still there? Okay, I'm still there. So it was, can you hear me? We started talking about plant medicine, and then Instagram started.
Your sound's gone, Chris.
I've got no sound.
Hang on, guys, one sec.
No, I've got no sound.
Can you hear me? Your sound frozen.
Yeah.
Too many mushrooms.
I said the word LSD and the sound went on Instagram.
Can't hear you.
You can't hear me?
No, I can't hear you. Your sound's gone on Instagram and on Zoom.
Okay, we won't talk about mushrooms. We won't talk about mushrooms.
Still can't hear you. Try now.
Hey, can you hear me?
Hang on, guys, 1 second. Just while Chris sorts out his sound, I'll continue on a little bit of my journey with the plant medicine, how it's helped me. And then you hopefully get a little bit of perspective of that. So I had a big car crash last year. I was got squashed by a lorry and gave me major anxiety, depression, and panic attacks. It wasn't nice. It was a very, very dark time, and I've been through a lot of traumas in my life as well. So those of you who don't know me or watching this, I've nearly died about 5 times. I got hit by a scaffold fitting from 70 foot a few years ago. Loads of other stuff. I've hemorrhaged down my nose, bled for 24 hours, been run over, and then also got like I say, got squashed by a lorry last year. So last year I went through another awakening, so to speak, and I was very depressed, anxiety, depression. This is why I actually set up the Over It podcast platform as well, because I wanted to help people get over the trauma. And if it wasn't for my past experiences, then I wouldn't have known how to go through that time. So hopefully my experience can help you and or anyone you know might as well. But it was the daily practices that got me through. It was the meditations, it was the reading, it was the watching of the videos. Dr. Joe Dispenza practically saved my life. That guy is absolutely phenomenal. So if you haven't watched him, please go and watch him. He tells you how to connect your mind with your heart, and how you can change your thoughts to change your life. I mean, the guy is absolutely phenomenal. So highly recommend. Sorry to hear that, TJ. That's I did not know that either. So that's a good connection. We'll talk about that when we do our podcast. So yeah, so for me last year, I got to a point I was like, I really need to get out of this situation and I need to advance. So the meditations are good, but I need to do this quicker because I've got things to do, and I've got people to help, and I'm here. This is my purpose, is to help people. So I went to a mushroom event, to a mushroom. That was a little bit like mushrooms. Over the years, going to clubs and doing them in the wrong environment, actually going to a ceremony where it was sacred, and very different scenario, really gave me a good insight. Then we had a buffet meeting, a buffet ceremony, which is comes from a toad, which is absolutely one of the most powerful things and beautiful experiences I've ever had in my entire life. So that led me to there. Then we started doing ayahuasca, and which is the pure plant medicine, which is the mother of all plant medicines. So we have lots and lots to talk about this, and I could talk about this for hours, but we just had an amazing retreat over in Colombia, which I just mentioned a minute ago. So 5 of us went over to there, started working with the shamans, learning from them, all about it, and very different as well, because that's where the plant is grown. And we was literally right near the Amazon where the tree was grown and how they make it and stuff like that. So very, very insightful, very profound, different experiences every single time you have the plant medicine. But like I say, it's about getting a fast track on your healing. It's about getting a insight into the spirit world. It's like it opens a door for you to the spirit world and stuff like that. So we've got lots of stuff we can talk about. Chris, have you got sound back yet? No.
Oh, nothing. It's like, can you hear me through the?
Do you want to log out and come back in?
Yeah, I think I might.
Okay, Chris is going to log out and come back in, and then hopefully we can have some sound. So let me. You haven't got sound on your Zoom either, Chris. So
I haven't.
See if you can.
Check. Can you hear me on the Zoom? Can you hear me on the Zoom?
There you are. And there we are. All good.
Cool.
Yeah, so we just, I wasn't sure if you could hear us as well. I don't know if it was on just your Instagram sound, but we're just leaving a little bit about, we're talking a little bit about plant medicine, my experience. It has literally transformed my life. Without plant medicine, I would probably still be in an anxiety and depression state. We've had a lot of people come into our ceremonies where they're like, I'm just not going to do drugs no more. I'm not going to drink again. I'm not going to smoke again. It is life changing, but you've got to be ready for it, and don't just go and do it. It's not just recreational. It is, and obviously you have to be doing it in a place where it's legal as well. So, which is why we went to Colombia. But it's very, very insightful. But Chris, give us a little bit about. Well, Chris, give us a little bit of insight to your experience with the plant medicine, how it helped you, and what you got from it as well.
Yeah, so plant medicines are good. They're really helping for realigning your perspective of life, of who you are, what you are, why you are. And it is obviously there's a couple of things you have to keep in context when you take plant medicines, and that's who you're doing it with. It's really important. Who you're doing it with, why you're doing it in the first place, and what is your intention behind doing the plant medicine. A lot of people take drugs or plant medicines and then they say it's not for me, but it can, if you do it in the wrong environment with the wrong people, it can be quite detrimental to you. So I would, my experience have always been good, have always been wonderful. I've done plant medicines all over the world, in India and in Thailand, in Java, in Bali, and here in England. And recently with you, Joby, doing the Boughey ceremony, 6 weeks ago, had a profound, life-changing, it was actually life-altering that evening that we did together. So for that reason, I would definitely recommend plant medicines as a way of shifting guilt, shifting shame, low self-esteem, shifting any low self-worth that you may have, any kind of anger or resentment, anything that has been holding you back in your life. If you want to shift it and start stepping into a more authentic, honest kind of truth, kind of like path of your own, you know, when you look at yourself in the mirror and you look into your own eyes, only you know you. You know that, everyone has it. Everyone, when they look at their own eyes, they see the truth in themselves. If you want to follow that truth and follow that version of yourself, then it's time for you to wake up. It's time for you to shake off the past, shake off your parents, shake off your parenting, shake off the guilt, shake off the low self-worth, shake off the low self-esteem. I know this because I suffered with it my whole life. I suffered with all that shit for my whole life. And now times are very different. So the plant medicines are very helpful in realigning your physical, mental, and emotional bodies. Having a plant medicine experience is not just a mental and spiritual experience. It is a deeply profound spiritual, emotional, physical, and sometimes sexual experience. It's the whole shebang. It's the whole shebang. And if you want, and it depends on how much you want it. Again, some people like the idea of going into themselves, let's call it. Some people love the idea of delving into what they are, and some people actually do it, and they're not afraid of walking through the valley of the shadow of death, as they say, and really facing your demons and facing the pain that you've experienced and releasing it. And plant medicines you can do it without, but it's accelerative.
Yeah, absolutely agree with that. I had a big challenge when I was in Colombia. I had something not nice come through vision wise and stuff like that. So I had to deal with a lot of demons, and it taught me a lot. There was a lot to integrate, a lot to process, but it was so good because it connected me more with the divine. It connected me more with prayer. It connected me more with the gods, and it gave me a lot of healing techniques that I can now take forward and put to our clients when we are doing the healing. So yeah, it was definitely a good experience. But yes, people have got to be ready for it, but also the plant finds people. That's the beauty of this. When people start really waking up, and then all of a sudden they start seeing signs everywhere, like I did. I was just seeing like ayahuasca and plant medicine everywhere, and I was like, "This is just calling me." So yeah, I had a very good experience with it. Like I say, it's literally transformed my life. But we can also fall into, through this time, through the dark times, we can also fall into victim consciousness. And then obviously this is something that we don't want to be doing. We want to be staying positive, staying strong. And the more we can keep our mindset in a strong place and in a positive frame of mind, feeding ourselves with divine love and joy and happiness, and just really affirmations all the time, and even holding your hand on your heart, filling yourself with self-love is so important. So be careful of the victim consciousness. So maybe Chris, maybe you could talk a little bit about that. That's a good little way to maybe help people understand what we're doing as well, and how to overcome that. Because I know many people might be falling into that category with all what's going on around us right now.
Yeah, I mean, victim identity is huge among the working class. And having come from a working class background, I too suffered with victim identity quite heavily, which is the world is happening to me and everything is to blame, and you're blaming others and you're judging others. And really the birth of responsibility is when you take responsibility for your own life. And you realize that everything that you have been experiencing up until now was your own doing. You created the relationships that you had, you created the work environments you had, you created the relationships you had with your family, and it actually wasn't anyone else but you creating it. And that is what they call the birth of responsibility. So victim identity is something that a lot of people are sitting in, which is keeping them in a low state of vibration, essentially. It's keeping them in a low state of but also I just want to touch on something you said earlier about positivity. Having a spiritual awakening is both light and dark, and that maintaining positivity is sometimes a trap that people fall into. Being super positive all the time is actually quite fake, because to be really authentic, it's to be sad and happy, to be angry and happy, to be loving and hateful, to feel the full spectrum of what it is that we are as humans, without denying any aspect of it. So when you're feeling sad, don't put happy music on, and whatever you do, don't put happy music on if you're feeling sad. If you're feeling sad, just sit and feel sad. If you're feeling worried or anxious, don't try and distract yourself with positivity, because you're essentially masking your anxiety. Really what you need to do if you're feeling down or anxious is to go into it, to really feel it for its full experience, feel what it is to be sad. And if you really become present with your sadness, it will release out of you and you will start crying and you will release the sadness. And what's behind sadness is joy, like a relief, like a sigh of relief. So sometimes on a spiritual journey, there are periods where you might feel suicidal, or you might feel deeply, deeply depressed and deeply upset and distant and separate from everyone. And I would just give you guys the advice that it's okay to feel that way, and to really honor. You might be shifting generations and generations and generations of ancestral trauma. And that takes a lot of strength. So you should give yourself credit and give yourself a pat on the back for being the one in your family who has the strength to go through the purging, to go through the purification, to go through the awakening process, where it's not an easy task to undertake. So sometimes having a bit of like anger, sometimes I get angry and I observe the anger. I wonder where it came from, whether it was my parents, my mum or my dad's side, probably from both. And then I just observe it. And sometimes I need to go punch something. So I'll go and punch a pillow, or I'll go and like trash my bedroom and just scream, or just do something that's outrageous. Just, it's okay. Just let it out. Go and join a gym and punch a punching bag. Go and do something. Let out, like shake it out. Do something watch a film. Just you do the most outrageous things when you have a spiritual awakening. You're like, sometimes you're crying, you cry, laugh, and in the same minute.
And fun.
It is absolutely incredible.
Yeah, it's good, mate. I really appreciate that. It's good insight. I hope you guys. I love punching things. These comments. I love punching things. Chris, you're awesome. It's great. I love it. So yeah, let's delve into. So we talked a little bit about the victim side of things. How we can go over that. Obviously, this is now forcing us to go inwards more and more deeply and deeply. And you touched on something very divine there as well, ancestral lineage. Okay, there's a lot of people might not understand this, that we carry generations and generations of pain in our DNA. Imagine Dragons, one second. Imagine Dragons is good to sing. Do you know what? Dragons are really coming. Teachers just mentioned dragons there. I'll talk about dragon energy in a minute because it's really profound right now, and the dragons are coming in to help and support the earth. I can definitely touch on that in a bit, but when she's talking, yeah, it's great. But yeah, Chris, talk a little bit about our ancestral lineage. If people don't understand that, just touch on elaborate on that a little bit for us, and why it's forcing us to now go deep inside because of the situation we're in at the moment as well.
Yeah, so a lot of people carry with them in their genetics. If you watch or you follow or study Dr. Bruce Lipton's work, you will see that what's inside the cells of your body is your parents, your mum and dad. And what's inside the cells of their body is their parents. And what's inside the cells of their body is their parents, and so on and so forth. So we're passing down epigenetically the trauma of our ancestors, the trauma of our forefathers. So if any of your grandparents, which all of our grandparents went through world wars, all of our great-grandparents went through world wars, and all of our great-great-great-grandparents went through some shitty time during the Industrial Revolution when it was really crappy. And we carry that with us in the cells of our body, and sometimes it can come out as depression or sadness or worry or guilt or just low self-worth. If you're from a working class background, you might be carrying with you generations and generations of pain. And you wonder why you can't achieve what it is you want to achieve, or you can't accomplish what it is you want to accomplish. The answer is in the cells of your body and in the conditioning of your mind. I have been through some profound experiences where I've seen visions of both lines of ancestry, all the way up my mum's line and all the way up my dad's line. And I've forgiven. The way that it worked for me is I forgave all of my ancestors for all of the stuff that they'd done. And then I forgave all of the people who had hurt me and my family throughout the years. And as I forgave my ancestors and the people who they'd hurt and what they had done to them, there was this shifting in the cells of my body. And it was about 1 o'clock in the morning, and I was in a park, and I started having convulsions, and I had a spasm, and it looked like I was having an epileptic fit, and I completely shook out about, I don't know, 15 generations worth of trauma in about 20 minutes. Wow. in the park.
At 1 o'clock in the morning. I'm glad it was in the morning.
1 o'clock in the morning, and it was the most intense physiological shift that I'd had to date. And as I walked away from there, the emotion then came with it. About 20 minutes later, I had this emotional release, and I sat on somebody's driveway crying unconditionally, uncontrollably for like 25 minutes.
Wow.
So you can purify yourself in a lot of different ways. It's not just this lifetime. It's not just this lifetime you're dealing with. You're dealing with your parents. You're dealing with your parents, because they're all inside you. All of those experiences are inside you. So.
Yeah, it's amazing. I hope that helps, guys. If you just, as Chris is saying, clear that energy and be thankful and grateful for everything, and release that energy. Work on it. It might take some time to do it, but it's definitely needed. We need to stop that ancestral baggage here with us right now. For us to move into the new paradigm of the new world and the new human that's being born in the fifth dimension, we have to clear that energy. So it's really important that we take on these techniques. We do the work daily. This should be part of your life. Having 20 minutes in the morning, 10 minutes, 5 minutes, a couple of minutes, wherever you can give, especially now, no one's hardly working anymore. So at this time, we can do this. This is the perfect divine time to clear our baggage, clear our demons, whatever it may be, and just evolve and become.
Yeah, it's true. We've been given this time off as a gift. It's a gift to humanity to stop doing what they've been doing. Because let's be perfectly honest, what the human race have been doing for the last 2,000 years is utter garbage. And we have been destroying and purging and stealing and being greedy and murdering and raping and pillaging and just being absolute assholes unconsciously, because we didn't know what we were doing. And now we've been given this beautiful opportunity to become aware of what it is that we are. That is all it is. Awakening is just becoming aware that you are aware. That is it. Just become aware that you're having this beautiful experience as a human. You're on a planet hurling through the universe, and it's incredible. It's beautiful. You are no different to the trees. You are no different to the animals. You are no different to the clouds. You are no different to the water and the birds. It's all just one happening. It's all just one happening.
We are one. And the thing is, something you just touched on a minute ago as well, you said there's people out there being murdering, robbing, and all of this bad stuff that goes on, but we are all one. So that is actually a reflection of the consciousness. So what we have to do, we have to forgive, we have to forgive terrible, terrible things. We have to forgive in our hearts and in our minds and just release that energy. We have to evolve now. Now is the time we have to raise up. We have to rise above the storms, rise above the clouds, and we have to come together. And now is the perfect opportunity to do this and evolve our consciousness, evolve our spiritual being. We are spirits having a human experience, not the other way around. So we have to come together now. We are here to evolve. We are here to shine. Light workers unite. This is something that is so important to me. I'm on an absolute mission now that I'm back from Colombia to spread this message and just want to help people. I want to be able to do good. And with your likes of you, Chris, being with us and all of the people who are on it, there's some amazing healers and absolute masters on this call right now. And my friend Craig's just joined. Hey, Craig, how you doing, buddy? Nice to see you. I'll give you a call later to have a catch up and see you doing well. But yeah, Chris, tell us a little bit more about how we can evolve into this fifth dimension and what the fifth dimension is if people don't understand it, and why it's happening as well.
Yeah, I mean, the frequency of the earth is shifting massively at the moment, and it's much more prominent. The more you wake up, the more you see it for what it is. Hold on, I've frozen again.
You've frozen on
Can you hear me?
Instagram again. Can you talk?
It's frozen again.
You might have to come out and come back in again, Chris. Okay, let me just add Chris back in, guys. So we're delving in. Hope you're enjoying this so far. Probably a little bit more still to talk about, but yeah, let me add Chris back in. Are you there? She says you're waiting to come back in. If everyone else can still hear me, just give us a little wave in the comments as well. Just make sure you can still hear myself. There we go. Says waiting for you to join. Connecting. There we go.
Hey, what's up?
There we are. That's better.
So yeah, basically the planet is also a conscious being. Whether you are fully awakened to this fact or not, the planet, when you become conscious, you realize that everything is conscious. Whether it's a plant or a rock or a bird or a human or a planet or a moon or a star, everything on some level is made up of the same consciousness. And we're currently going through an astrological, cosmological shift in consciousness, and this entire planet can either resist, and it won't be very pleasant, or begin the journey of awakening, the conscious journeying towards awakening. And it is an arduous task, but the 5D frequencies that are coming in at the moment are amazing. Have you ever spoken to a 4-year-old or a 3-year-old that's on this planet at the moment? They're so intelligent.
They're so gifted.
They're so gifted. These people, the next generation of children that are being born at the moment are going to be unbelievably powerful beings.
Yeah.
In 25 years, these people they're not going to be taking any of the shit that the politicians are giving them.
No.
They're going to be overriding politics. They're going to be overriding economics. They're going to be overriding the environment. They're going to be taking control back. This planet is going to be absolutely stunning in the next 100 years.
Yeah, absolutely. This is Gaia and Mother Earth, Pachamama, however you want to call her. She's healing at the moment, and she's evolved for millions and millions of years. So she's got it in hand, absolutely. But it's so nice to see everything like Venice, all of the waters are now crystal clear, and like someone put in our group yesterday a picture of reindeers outside someone's house in Essex. Like nature's coming back and doing this thing at the moment. So, but Mother Earth is having hang on 1 second. Live video ended. Must only be an hour. 1 second, guys. Should we go back on? So guys, on YouTube and on Zoom and on the recording, we are literally just...
Are you still live?
Back ourselves back on live. We just go... Okay, you on, Chris? Welcome guys, part 2 of our interview with Chris Soltara, who is a life coach, mentor, and absolute spiritual genius. So very, very excited to do this. Hope you enjoyed part 1. This is part 2. We will continue on with our conversation and just get Chris on the... Are you on, Chris?
Yeah.
Perfect. Saying no viewers. Oh, there you are. There we are. Let's add Chris back in for part 2. So everyone who's on the recording, welcome back, part 2. Thank you for joining us. This is the Over It podcast. I'm Joby and with Chris Soltara as our special guest. Part 1 was very special. We talked all about consciousness, 5G. We talked all about what's going on with the coronavirus, spirituality, awakenings. And I'm pretty sure part 2 is going to be a little bit similar, but we can delve into a few more subjects. If you have any questions, guys, please put in the comments and we'll be happy to answer them for you on the live feed. And if you have any questions on the recordings, please get in touch and we'll be happy to answer them for you. So Chris, we was talking about the 5th dimension. If you would like to maybe continue on with that, what it is,
Yeah.
And how people can start evolving to this, because it's really important that we do aim to, the more of us that can get enlightened and start moving towards this frequency and the new dimension that's coming into the earth plane is going to be very profound for all of our families.
So to put it really simply, the simplest way of thinking about it is the 3D vibration of the planet, which we've been living in for 3,000 years, is fear, basically. Fear and separation. That's why we divided our earth into countries. We divided our planet into counties, and we fought over land, and we killed each other, and we started religions, and we did all of these terrible things because we've been living in a mindset of fear for a long time. And the truth is, the next wave of energy that's coming in, the level of consciousness, or Christ consciousness, is of love and unity. That's essentially all it is. It's just the opposite of fear, essentially. And the more you attune yourself to the frequency of love and unity, where there's no separation between you and another, where there's no separation between you and an animal or a plant or the rocks or the earth, and you can dissolve yourself into a sense of non-duality. Once you feel this sense of non-duality, where you feel so deeply and wonderfully connected to the universe, all of those separations that your mind had created dissolve, and you're able to perceive reality without thought, without judgment, without labeling. You live in a constant state of acceptance and forgiveness and love and wonderful experiences. And it doesn't mean your social skills get any better, and it doesn't mean you become some kind of master at networking, and it doesn't mean you become some kind of like genius. It literally, nothing changes about you other than your perception of reality. your perception of what was happening becomes unified with the universe. You dissolve into a state of love, into a state of oneness, into a state of absolute peace. And this is a process that it can take 1 minute or it can take 10 years. Depends on the individual and depends on how they want to proceed in their awakening. But the new frequency on this planet right now is one of love, is one of unity, is one of awakening. And whether the human race believe it or not, whether they want it or not, whether they fight it or resist it or want it, it's happening. it's a happening.
Like the spirits are shaking people to wake up at the moment. So, yeah, the spirits are like, come on, wake up, wake up.
It's happening. And it's so beautiful because I started my spiritual journey 6 years ago. And it has been absolutely the darkest, most beautiful experience that I could possibly experience. And it's so nice now seeing all my friends also start, because it was quite a lonely period for me for quite a few years, because I would look around and I thought I was losing my mind. Essentially, I was losing my mind. And now it's so wonderful because my closest friends have also started their journey. So they're all coming and talking and sharing, and they are also on the path of their awakening. And it has become a really beautiful, unifying experience for me and my family and my friends, without forcing my awakening on others or without convincing someone of something, which I went through all of that period. I went through that period early on. And eventually, when you start doing your own thing, people start asking questions and inquiring, and it becomes obvious to them that you've changed and you've become softer and more unified and more loving. So yeah, the planet is going through a huge shift. I'm really excited about what's happening at the moment. I'm not going to lie to anyone. I know it sucks that we're all in isolation and that people are dying of a coronavirus. This is not a good thing. I'm not going to label it good or bad. I'm just going to say that I'm excited. I have the feeling of excitement. I have the feeling of change is in the air. I have the feeling that what is happening is a bit of like bittersweet. We're going through a transition, like a caterpillar has to almost feel like it's dying to become a butterfly. Because when a caterpillar is going into its chrysalis, it doesn't know what's happening. It's not questioning it. It's just going in thinking it's the end. And it emerges on the other side as a butterfly. It doesn't even know if it can fly. It doesn't even know what wings are. It just comes out and goes into the air as a beautiful, the next start of its awakening. So this is what's happening to humanity. We almost have to die as a species in order to re-emerge as non-dual beings, as beautiful, connected beings. The only way I can describe it. I 100% agree. Once the mind dissolves, you dissolve judgment. It's very peaceful, not judging or labeling anything. So once people start doing the work on the mind and they start really getting to come to terms with what the mind is, all that judgment stuff falls away, and it's so wonderfully peaceful.
Okay, so let's talk about sense of love. What about if we spoke about crystals, mindset, meditation to help people, how people can use the crystals, how people can use meditation and everything else?
Yeah, so crystals, you know as much as I do, they're energetic beings. They're conscious. I
don't go anywhere without them. These are my favorite.
Just get them on your body. Get them on the body in any way that you can. Get them around your house. They are pumping out frequencies and they emit salt lamps. All of these things are really wonderful. They, like I said at the beginning of this podcast, everything is frequency, energy, and vibration. If you can condition your mind to think in everything in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration, then you start seeing your relationships and your interactions and your words so much differently, because words are vibration, and you can destroy someone with words, or you can create beautiful experiences with words. And it's the same with these. these little beings, these little crystals, it may seem really hippie-ish and quite woohoo and spiritual nonsense too, but if you really look at what they actually are, they are emitting a vibration, whether you like it or not. Scientifically tested, these are vibrating. Get them on your body, get them on your jewelry, get them around your house. It will make you feel a lot better, and it will protect you from this strange 5G that's been emitted at the moment.
So what's the best crystal for people to protect themselves against the 5G?
I don't know.
Okay. I did read somewhere yesterday that Sugnite was really good. It reflects all of the waves. So if anyone else has any information on that, please share it. Would love to add that into the information that we're passing on here as well. So, but what I did read yesterday, that Sugnite is one of the best for reflecting the radiation and stuff like that. But if anyone else knows any different, yeah, there you go. Debbie's on it. Tourmaline and Sugnite, perfect. Thank you, Debbie. Much appreciated. So yeah, it's really good. So
Debbie,
really,
Debbie, when are you going to change all your social media to the Oracle? Who's Debbie Conda? I don't know who this Debbie Conda is.
Debbie, you can get Sugnite stickers for mobile phones on Etsy. Oh, perfect. Very nice. Thank you, Oracle.
Oh, right. I see. I've seen those. I've seen those things. Yeah, I definitely think you should do that.
Maybe it's time.
Maybe it's time. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. We believe so.
You're saved in my phone as the Oracle, and that's it.
That's it. She is the Oracle. Yeah, without a doubt. If anyone doesn't know Debbie, oh my God, connect with her. She is very, very powerful, and what a beautiful soul you are, my dear. Love you. So let's talk a little bit about people might be facing struggles with the economy right now. They can't work. What's going on with the banking, and are we moving into a cashless society? How will this affect our vibration and our consciousness?
So anyone who's not aware, the banking is closing down, basically. The Deutsche Bank, as you know, last year they closed.
Trillions in debt.
Trillions in debt. JP Morgan, Goldman Sachs, all of these banks are collapsing. Even on the high street, anyone in England watching this, you'll know that Barclays, Lloyds, and all of the banks are closing their high street. So we're becoming slowly a cashless society, and it seems quite logical if you think about carrying lumps of gold is not a practical way of exchanging. So then we used to turn it into coins, and then coins became cash, became fiat money. And fiat money has no intrinsic value at all. And we've just been carrying around pieces of paper thinking they're worth something for the last 40 years or 50 years. And basically that's all coming to an end now. As you well know, we've become contactless all over the world, and which I don't even like that word because it's separative, contactless. It's and in a way, I do agree with cashless society, because if we were all conscious and awake, we could just have a medium of exchange which is contactless, and we can send each other money instantaneously around the world, effortlessly. But I do feel like the contactless society is being manipulated that way for control reasons, because of the people who are running the banks, the people who are running the governments, and without judgment towards them, because they're just doing their thing. I would say that it's not a great thing right now for us to be cashless, because they can cancel your bank account and they can close transactions down, and they get to dictate when and how we spend our money. In the future, a cashless society would be wonderful. Maybe in 50 years, cashless society would be incredible, and we'll all be selling Bitcoin and sending Ripple and XRP and all of these wonderful currencies around the world instantaneously for free. But it is a worrying time for banking. If you have any money in savings and you have any money in cash just sitting in your bank, the economy is crashing. If you are not paying attention, please pay attention to the stock market. They are down consistently, day after day after day after day. If you have money in savings or bonds or anything, I would suggest you reevaluate your finances. I'm not even a financial advisor, but if I had any money in the stock market, I would be taking my money out right now. It's not a good time for the economy.
No, so there's a lot of people obviously off work now, and again, this might bring in the depression, it might bring in the anxiety because people can't pay for things. But how do we handle this? Is it again same going back to the beginning of part one where we were talking about the meditations and just how we get over anxiety? Is it the same techniques for this sort of subject? If people are watching this, how do we explain that? And Debbie, yeah, absolutely. This is where Bitcoin will come in, and I'll touch on this in a second if you want. I've been talking about this for 7 years all over the world, so I would love to touch on that. But yeah, just for people who might be worried a little bit, who might be sitting at home, no income, how do we deal with this, Chris, and how do we raise our vibration to match the new energetic patterns coming into the world?
So you have a mind, but you're not your mind. The mind is part of the experience. You have a mind, body, and a spirit, and all of those things merge together to create your perception of what you're perceiving. So if you want to raise your vibration, first of all, come to the realization that you have a mind and that you're not your thoughts. You have a body, but you're not your body. And you get to choose the frequency of both of those things. You get to choose. Like, once you come to the realization that you're not your thoughts and you're not your body, I'm not saying that you're not having the experience of a body and having the experience of thoughts. Just come to the realization that you're not them and you're able to observe them. Once you become the witness of your thoughts, you can reprogram them. You can recondition your thoughts to think, I am amazing, I am incredible, I am unstoppable, I am unlimited, I am an expression of the divine, I am, and all of these words are vibrations. They are vibrations. Sound is vibration. And if you can convince yourself that you are unstoppable, that you are worthy of anything that you put your mind to, and that your body is a vessel through which you are having this experience with the body. You're not the body, but you have a body. And you are able to recondition your beliefs and make sure that you're looking after your body. Food is a vibration. By putting McDonald's into your body, you're lowering the vibration of your body. But if you put broccoli into your body, you're raising the vibration of your body. So continuously knowing what is good for you, your mind and your body, your vibration will go through the roof. It's not just about knowing what's good for you, it's also about knowing what's bad for you, like coffee and alcohol and all of these types of things that we become addicted to in society. Alcohol lowers your bodily vibration, actually corrupts the mind. Coffee lowers the bodily vibration. Believe it, I know you get a light stimulated by coffee, but it's actually lowering your spiritual vibration. So just drink water. Water is all you need to drink. If you only drink water for the rest of your life, you will feel amazing. And juices and smoothies and stuff like that. But just really do your homework on, do exactly what Debbie just said. Have some spiritual practices involved in your food and drink. Before you eat anything, bless your food, bless and be grateful for food, be grateful to God, to the universe, to whatever you believe. I always say a prayer before I eat. I always say, thank you for this food, and may people who don't have food have food. May people who don't have any food, please allow them to have food. Please allow people to drink water who don't have any water. And I send the vibration out that everyone will eat and drink. Yeah, it's a really important time at the moment, and there is no break in a spiritual awakening. There's no days off. once you're on it, you're on it. It's a daily. Once you're on it, you're on it. It's like a roller coaster. It's ups and downs and ins and outs. And I love studying the words gratitude, forgiveness, loyalty, trust, wisdom, integrity. All of these words that we hear in a lot of holy texts, if you just write them on a piece of paper and have them around your house, they are slowly, subconsciously reprogramming you to become those things. So I just got stuff all over my kitchen. I literally got signs all over my house reminding me. It says, what would somebody who loves themselves do? If you're ever struggling to decide something, just ask this question. What would somebody who loves themselves do? And then do the first thing that comes to mind.
The art of contemplation.
Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So guys, I hope you're getting value from this. Does anyone have any questions you'd like to ask Chris or myself? And we can...
Joby, do you want to talk a little bit more about Bitcoin? I know you have a lot of experience in the crypto world because of your past, but given that the banking and the economy is going in the way that it's going, what's your view on the decline of the economy, but the rise of cryptocurrencies?
Yeah, okay. So, I've been speaking about this. For those of you who don't know, I was working for Bitcoin, hedge funds, and lots of different things over the last 7 years. I've traveled around many countries, speaking to thousands and thousands of people, all about this subject. So I can happily touch on this. For me, during my presentations, when I used to talk about Bitcoin, is that one day we may have another financial crash. We may have something bigger. And what we've got to realize is that the reserve currency of the world, the US dollar, is 23 trillion in debt and more. The whole world is in 250 trillion in debt. I mean, but who are we actually in debt to? I mean, it's just print more money. What happens when they print more money? It devalues. As Chris said earlier, the stock market's going down. So if we have another financial crash now with this situation going on, and I don't want to be a scaremonger, I don't want to be anything like that. I'm just going to give you some facts and just to give you a little bit of insight. So if we did have another crash, it would make 2008 crash look tiny. And what we've got to realize is that Bitcoin is peer-to-peer. So I can send money, Chris, right now, and he's got the money. Now, I don't need a third man, don't need an intermediary, don't need a bank, don't need nothing. So during this time when the banks are closed and we can't get our money and all this, we've got our phones, we can literally transact Bitcoin peer-to-peer, and no one controls it. Bitcoin is actually run by thousands of computers around the world. So there's no one central point of failure. So it can't be hacked. It is absolutely the most secure monetary system that we'll ever have. You are in full control of it, and Bitcoin, because it's a finite supply, so there's only ever going to be so much Bitcoin. Well, we're coming into a time literally next month where the amount of Bitcoin that comes into circulation is going to get halved. So they've done that since 2009. Every 4 years, it gets halved. So the amount of Bitcoin actually coming into circulation is very scarce. So what happens when you have a finite product, something's very scarce, it has to push the value up. So Bitcoin, when I first got involved with Bitcoin, was less than $50 a coin. Today's about $6,500, $7,000 a coin. And at one point, it peaked at $50,000 a coin. So even if we get back to the peak now, we're talking nearly 3 times our money. And then what does that do? That gives you more purchasing power. So you can go out, you can buy more things for something that you bought cheaply, rather than our normal fiat currency, which is government issued currency, which is going down and down and down and down in value over the years. I mean, if you look at the US dollar reserve currency, it's worth less than a penny, really, but they just print so much of it. A dollar is not actually worth a dollar. A pound is not actually worth a pound. But with Bitcoin, one Bitcoin is one Bitcoin, no matter where you go in the world. So we've now got a world currency that can be run peer to peer by people, for the people. And we're going through a time of huge shift and huge vibrations of a new paradigm coming in. Well, Bitcoin is going to be the new paradigm and the new currency of the whole world. So it's a very, very important time for Bitcoin, because the next halving is literally weeks and weeks away.
6 weeks away.
6 weeks away. I remember this time last year, we went over, we done a big event over in Marbella. We had about 500-600 people over there, whatever. And we literally were counting down the days, 365 days. We're now 6 weeks away. And it's a monumental time for Bitcoin, because the price is going to go in the next year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years. No guarantees on this, but my prediction is Bitcoin will be well over $50,000 a coin. I believe it'll be more than that. I'm not going to give you my actual figure because I don't want to scare you. But it's only ever going to be 10% of their Bitcoin. Might be more than that. 20% of Bitcoin will be lost because people didn't know how to handle, people didn't know how to store them. So there's actually less Bitcoins on the market than what's actually being shown. So it's a very scarce product. It's very here. But what this is going to do, this is how it's all going to tie in with the consciousness and the raising of the planet and the new human beings being born. Do you think our children who are being born now are going to use cash? No, not in a million years. They're going to use a digital currency. Everything they do is streamed downline and online now. So we need a secure online payment system. Yeah, we've got PayPal and all this, but it's still not, without going too technical, it's still not secure as what Bitcoin is. Bitcoin is literally cannot be hacked, and everything is run on a public ledger, which every single computer around the world has a copy of the ledger. So you cannot manipulate the ledger. I can't say to Chris, I sent him $100 worth of Bitcoin, and he looks on the ledger and says, oh no, you only sent me $50 or whatever. It's there, it's on record. Every single computer in the world has a record of this. So you can't manipulate it, you can't cheat it, you can't change it. It is true information. And, you know, if we look at the banking system right now, the banking system probably doesn't give us 100% true information of what's going through their books or whatever. But again, that's a different story. I don't want to get conspiracy. I don't want to get into that side of things, but Bitcoin allows us to now send money anywhere in the world instantly, like sending an email peer-to-peer. So if your friend's struggling over Venezuela or wherever, and they're going through this time, they're not taking the banking system right now. We tried to do a banking transfer the other day here, and it was like we can't do anything for 5 days. It's like, what times are we living in? This is 2020. We should be able to send money anywhere. But again, that might have just been one specific bank. But yeah, I hope that gives you a little bit of insight into Bitcoin. But do your own research, guys. Don't take my word for it. Because I've been in for a long, long time. Do your own research, because it is the people's money. And what we're trying to do here, we're trying to raise the energy and the consciousness and the vibration of the people. So if we have our own currency, especially with, I know a lot of our own tribe, our own community goal, we sat down and we spoke about this when we was in Colombia. We want to have a community. We want to have our own place where we live and families come together, schooling our own children, living off the land. What we're going to do, if we need a currency, we're going to need something that we can use between our community. And that for me will be Bitcoin. And again, it goes back to the olden days barter, where we used to put 1 cow for 2 chickens and 4 goats or whatever it is. You know, it's peer-to-peer, it's barter. So you can, and money is just a thank you for a goods and service. So we no longer need the intermediary, we no longer need the banks. We can do this ourselves. But again, it's going to take time, and it's just a matter of now it's all coming together with the new raising of the consciousness and the new 5 dimension coming in. We need to have a money for the people. So I hope that helps. I hope that gives you a little bit of an explanation. I wasn't expecting to come on here and talk about Bitcoin, so I was off the cuff. But yeah, I hope you got some value from that. But do your own research. Don't just go and buy it, because it can go down 20%, 30% in a day as well. Be aware of that. It's volatile. And if you're not ready for that, you might make a mistake. So, but if you do need any help, just hit me up. I'd be happy to elaborate, and Chris can teach on that as well. He's very clever on that knowledge as well. But we've also, just to touch on a little bit of our tribe, maybe this is a good idea to introduce this now. We have a tribe called Warriors of the Rainbow. We are all coming together. It's all healers and spiritual people. We've got a group on Facebook. If anyone would like to join and be part of that, you're more than welcome. We will happily welcome you in and be part of that as well. So it's all good. But Chris, is there anything else you wanted to touch on? Should we finish on a little bit more of the consciousness and the vibrations of stuff, so people are aligned with the intentions of the podcast? Can you hear me? With the intentions of the podcast. Chris? Can you hear me?
I need you to add me again.
Your sound's gone again. Okay. Your sound's gone again. Okay. So there you go. So guys, there we go. There we go. Yeah, so Chris, is there anything you want to touch on just to maybe finish off? We've been talking for about an hour and a half now. It's been two good parts. And
yeah, I mean, what I see when I go around, I see my friends and family, I see people in the street, in the supermarket, they're quite tense. I don't, because of the nature of what I'm experiencing, I don't feel any tension at all. I don't feel any worry or anxiety about anything. What's happening on the earth is actually just what it is. It is what it is. I'm not creating any stories in my head of worries about anything in the future. So my advice to people would be to spend this time wisely studying. Knowledge is power. Knowledge of yourself, knowledge of who we are as people, knowledge of what the banking's doing, knowledge of what the governments are doing. The more knowledge you have, the more powerful we are as people. The more we share information, the more power we have as people, and the more we unite, the easier our lives will be. Divide and conquer works perfectly if you can get everyone in their homes and separate and standing 2 meters apart in the supermarket. Then we are divided as people, and we need to be uniting as people. So maintain a positive mindset, maintain a positive physical health, maintain good nutrition, and just keep doing the work, keep studying, keep practicing, keep moving forward. If you're religious, go into your religion a little bit deeper. If you have faith in God or Jesus or Allah or any Buddhism or any Hinduism, go deeper into your spiritual practice, go deeper into it, and allow it to teach you what it needs to teach you.
Yeah, perfect. Has anyone got any questions you'd like to finish off with? Anyone who's asking for information on Bitcoin stuff, I will happily share that with you. Debbie, I'd love to talk to you about that as well. So yeah, hit me up and we will. I can share. I've got so much information. I've got loads of really good stuff I can share. It's very credible as well. So, and then you can make up your own minds from there. All very, very important. But yeah, if you have any questions, guys, would love to answer anything else for you. I hope you've enjoyed the live stream and the podcast. So I'll edit the video and the audio up, so we have all of that up for you as well. You too, Debbie. Love you so much. Can't wait to see you when all of this is over. Big celebrations. The Oracle. But yeah, all good, guys. So maybe we should call it a day there. So guys, do your meditations, keep reading, keep writing, keep your vibration high, keep the mindset positive, absolutely live your life in a way where you are grateful for everything. You feel yourself with divine love, and you just love life. Love life, my friends. Love life. Stay safe, stay strong, and get through this time. And we will be doing many more of these live videos. Debbie, I'd like to interview you 100%, Tejan 100% as well. Let's get this out there. Let's spread this message. Let's use social media and all of our platforms to share this message and really push the awakening up, and let's help people. That's my intention.
Yeah, me too. Thank you, Joby.
Absolute divine love. Chris, my friend, my mentor, I love you, brother. And, thank you so much for your time, and I will share everything over with you later on as well.
Cool. Thank you, man. Thank
No
you.
worries. Thank you, guys. Have a blessed day, and we will speak to you.
Take it easy.
Very soon. Ciao, ciao.